Hi, everyone. We are moving on to essay number 2, which is your researched illustration essay. I wanted to briefly walk through what the essay assignment looks like, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about illustration as a genre or a mode of writing. So this is your biggest point essay that you'll be writing, 300 points, and it is your longest essay, and it will also include research. I have given you 12 options to pick, and many students choose to go with these topics. But for this essay, if none of those topics appeal to you, you are certainly welcome to propose your own topic that you'd like to research and write about. So skim through them, see if any of them catch your interest, maybe do a little bit of brainstorming on each of them, and then determine if you're going to go with one of those 12 prompts or you're going to research something that you have come up with yourself. So as with all of your essays, you'll do some pre-writing. You'll have a peer review of your rough draft that will be due, and that should be at least 3 pages long. The final draft will be 4 to 6 pages long, and then you'll have a reflection due at the end of that. You are required to have sources that you're using for this essay, meaning that you are going out and finding sources beyond your own experience, beyond your own mind, that help to support your stance. And that will include a combination of at least the following 3. So one database source, one book or interview that you conduct, and one internet source. By database source, I mean the databases that you have access to as students through Western. And I will have a video in the coming weeks that shows you how to access that. And you also have a database built into your MindTap online textbook that you can use too. Databases are some of the highest quality source material that you can find. They have been often vetted by people who are experts in the field. Often articles within them are written by people who are themselves experts in the field. Lots of research goes into them. So databases are a really solid research source for you to know about and to use. And if you are continuing on in a 4-year degree, they will be invaluable to you because you will be asked to use them for future papers and presentations. I'm asking you to find an actual book. It can be an online book, but I'm asking you to find a book or for you to conduct an interview yourself. So, for instance, a lot of people who do the topic of fads, and fads are trends that go in and out of fashion. So think about things like clothing or things like diets. And sometimes people will interview their parents or their grandparents, people from different generations, so that they can get ideas and firsthand perspectives of what it was like to grow up in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, etc. So there are ways for you to incorporate interviewing people in your lives who might have experience with some of these topics that are listed or the topic that you're interested in pursuing yourself. And finally, an internet source can be anything that you find online. So I'm not making that a database source, so you can certainly do a Google search for it. But as with all of this, it should be current, it should be reputable, reliable, and written by someone who has some authority on the topic. I don't want you to use Wikipedia pages. I don't want you to use blogs or editorial pieces, opinion pieces. I want these to be fact-based, data-based, research-based pieces of information that you're finding. So you'll have at least those 3 sources that you're referencing in your paper and you're listing in a works cited page. You're certainly welcome to have more than that, but that is the minimum for sources. And within your paper, I'm asking you to both quote and paraphrase from the sources that you are using to do your research. And you will have a minimum of 2 quotes in your paper and at least 3 paraphrases or paraphrased passages within your paper. We will be going over all of these in more detail. So if any of the phrases or words that I'm using are causing alarm bells to go off in your mind, we will be covering these in more detail in the coming weeks. On the second page, you will see a rubric and break down what I'm looking for when I grade your paper. Notice some of the larger point areas. So I'm looking for those paragraphs using paragraph math. I mentioned here in the rubric PIEIE, which is another way that you can build paragraphs. I'll cover that in more detail as well. And then a large chunk going to those quotes and the sources that you're using within your paper. And as with all papers, I ask for a minimum and a maximum page length, and I do deduct points for papers that are short or overly long. I would much rather be long, but I don't want to see papers that are 2.5 pages long, because you really can get into the meat of a research paper when you are writing something that is relatively short, especially for some of these topics. The thing I would say about this particular last one, number 12, drugs have taken an economic toll on American business or society. Many people seem to be interested in that topic, and I would say if you're going to pursue that topic, you might want to consider how you could narrow it. It's a very broad topic as it stands, so think about how you could narrow it to a specific type or class of drug or to a specific segment of the American population. I have had some people focus it on, for instance, heroin use in the Midwest or Wisconsin, and then have it focused on mental health or incarceration rates. So there are lots of ways that you can take that one in particular and narrow it down. I will be showing you some examples of some pre-writing and brainstorming to give you some further samples to look at for some of these topics as well. So that is your illustration essay assignment. This is the big one, as they say, or the research paper. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a persuasive paper. Illustration simply means that you're providing plentiful examples, and the mode or genre of illustration is helpful in all forms of writing. So if you want to take a stance on this one, you certainly can, but you can be very much more fact-based and informative as well. So that is a quick overview of the illustration essay assignment. In another video, I will talk a little bit more in depth about illustration itself.